good morning, and I'm sorry if it's been a few days since I've posted. I've been under attack. I coined this term bombing in my report quantifying abuse, and if you haven't read it, please go to my website and check it out. But bombing is basically a narcissistic attack in which you're hit with a whole bunch of stuff at once, and the goal of that is to psychologically discombobulate it so that you basically look nuts. When you're in high conflict situations, it's utilized before court proceedings and stuff like that, so that you're put into a position where you're so psychologically discombobulated in your situation that you, say, lose your kids. But in this case, it was to make me shut up, and let me tell you, I'm not going to do that. Now, I'm quite pissed. I know you can't really tell, and it's because I've been really abused and I'm used to this shit. I'm quite pissed, but I am, a little bit impressed with the amount of effort you put in. Good job. Good job. I really applaud your persistence. It's pretty spectacular. However, I will say, I don't want to get biblical here. I will later, but I will say no weapon against me is going to work. And plus, you're just grabbing your shovels and digging your asses deeper, so go ahead, you can try. So let's go over what happened at the end of last week. So I posted the video that said that I was coming into some finances and I was going to be able to afford a lawyer, which I think pissed some people off. A lot, right? They were expecting that I was just going to crawl into a hole and die. And unfortunately, I'm not going to do that, which is, I'm sure, stifling some plans. Now, the first thing I posted about last week. My brother called in to the Children's Aid Society and said that he was worried about my mental health. I'm assuming to start putting together a load of documents to ensure that I don't get my inheritance. But the CAS lady came out and we had a really nice little meeting. She's quite lovely, and she has absolutely no concerns. So thanks for that. But you know what it did do? It stressed out my kid a lot. She had to have an interview, and for that, I will not be forgiving. It's one thing to abuse me. It's another thing to involve my child. You've done pissed me off. On the same day, I was trying to get in touch with a whole bunch of lawyers, and I started to have significant issues with my phone. Really significant issues. So I kept calling lawyers' offices from within my home, and it's it would ring and ring and ring and ring. It wouldn't even go to voicemail. It would just keep ringing and then disconnect. Every single one I called, and I thought, hey, that's funny. At least one of these offices should have a voicemail. This happened in my home and in my car. I got in my car and I was running errands because I had to clean my whole house in 24 hours. It happened in my home and in my car, which was weird. But funny thing happened when I got out of my car at some point and tried to make a call. All of a sudden I was able to connect with actual humans. And I thought, wow, I must be bugged. Now, this isn't surprising. People have gone to some really, really, really huge lengths to stop me, which just tells me that they've done something really bad, because nobody would go that far unless somebody had done something very bad. Anyways, the day of the appointment with CAS, I dropped off my daughter at school and I went directly to Starbucks to try and call the RCMP, who I thought had an open case regarding me, and we'll get to that later. But I went to Starbucks and tried to call the RCMP, and I called their main line in their office in Ottawa. And I went to Starbucks and I called them on my phone on cellular, and what would happen is I got the RCMP and then I got the phone menu thingies, and then it would just ring and ring and ring, and then on the fourth ring exactly it would cut off. Fourth ring. I tried this on my cellular phone, on cellular network, and then I tried it on the Starbucks Wi-Fi, same thing happened. And then I tried it on my iWatch, and the same thing happened. And at that point, I reached a point of no return. Now, if you've watched my videos, you understand that at the beginning of the process, when I started to write this report, I knew I had been hacked into. I went through the process of trying to 2FA everything. It was very timely, right? It took a lot of time. And I knew that quantifying abuse was more important. So at some point, I just stopped paying attention to all the cues that I had been hacked into and let people watch. Because quantifying abuse was more important than me being watched. And like, honestly, I don't even do anything wrong. So if you want to stalk me, go ahead. I don't even leave the house. But controlling my capabilities to get in touch with people, that's where I draw the line. So I got in my car from Starbucks and I drove to the Durham Cop Shop at Kingston and Brock Road. You know what? I never have an interaction with police where I'm not disappointed in humanity. Like the fact that we've taken the worst humans in our society and gave them fucking guns. Like we took the worst people and then gave them guns. Oh, I'm so disappointed. Anyways, I walk into the cop shop and I make the phone call one more time from within the cop shop. Same thing happens. I go up to the desk. I tell him what's going on. He said, go wait in your car. I went and waited in my car and this cop came out. I don't even remember his name, but I'm sure you can look it up. He didn't ask me one question. He didn't care about my story. I told him I wanted to be scanned for bugs. He said, we don't really, well, we can scan with this app, right? He pulls out an app. He's 5 feet away from my car. He does like a scan, whatever it is. And of course it comes up with nothing. He does not offer to come to my home. He does not want to know what my story is. And I got the sense that I knew exactly who I was when I came into that interaction. Honestly, the malice that I have gotten from the police force going through this process is deplorable. It is deplorable. I have never been so disappointed in a public service in all of my life. And believe me, it will not be forgotten. Now, while he was out with me, I called the RCMP one more time. Like, I called them one more time and finally got a hold of the main switchboard. Funny that. Now, here's where the kicker came in. So I called the RCMP and I asked for the agent that I had been working with. And lo and behold, they couldn't find him. Now, I said I had been receiving a whole bunch of calls from their main switchboard because I have a listing of them, and this is it. This is the listing of calls from their main switchboard. And they said that no agent would ever call from the main switchboard, and that's when I realized I had been part of a much deeper scam, like a coordinated scam, like a scam with a whole bunch of people involved, a whole bunch of phone calls, bank employees, like tons of stuff. I've been involved in something that is very, very illegal. Um, and you know what? I kind of got tingles about it before, but you'll start to understand that in my story, there's been a whole ton of situations where I will just let myself be scammed so that I can teach y'all a lesson later. Now, I won't get into the details of all of that in this video because it deserves its own video. But I will say that since that time, the gang stalking efforts in my area have significantly increased. Like, wow. People with their doodles at the beach, like there was 2 guys in HomeSense. And it's like you think I don't notice that, like you take a look at my face and immediately start texting. Like, do you think I'm retarded? Do you know what you're doing is very illegal? Do you understand that I see it all? Now, I understand that there may be situations in the past that you have done this to women and then they crawl into a hole and die. When you look at me and you're like, oh, she's different. Yes, I'm the first one that's going to win. So grab your shovels and keep digging. because I'm keeping track of it.